Let's get started with assignment 7 by first attacking the landscape image. So again, remember that you always make sure to what you have selected over here on the layers panel because it does matter and things can get complicated in Photoshop, so just stay organized, pay attention, and name your layers. First, we're going to use the pen tool to create a loose outline of these rocks. What I mean by a loose outline is we're not going to worry about all of these crazy details. We're just going to kind of come along the very outline in a very loose way because we do not have time to pen tool all of these little divots. It'll take hours and we can work smarter than that. So I'll fast forward this. And just make sure that you close off your selection by making sure the rocks are what you have the outline drawn around. Perfect. So just like before, we're going to click on this Make Selection button. Make sure that your feather radius is at 0 and that anti-alias is checked. Press OK. And the tool we'll be using can be accessed by going to Select, Select and Mask. So once you select that, this menu box pops up, kind of like a mini version of Photoshop. Over here in view mode, I like to make sure that my view mode is set to overlay because it's the easiest to see what you're doing. You know, everything that is not selected is pink. You know, easy to see. And over here in the mini toolbox, we want to make sure that the Refine Edge brush tool is what you have selected. And that's the second brush down from the top. Hover over it, it says Refine Edge brush tool. So just make sure your brush is set to not too big because we want it to be pretty accurate. Zoom in, and what you can do is use that tool to just kind of brush along the edge of the rocks, and you'll see that it's doing a great job refining our selection to include all of the rocks, including all the crazy details, without us having to spend all that time pen tooling it manually. I am all about working smarter, not harder. Please work hard, but just don't work hard needlessly. How about that? That's a good compromise. So just brushing along the edges of the rocks. Notice how everything's looking a lot more accurate. Press OK. When you're done, you'll see your selection's a heck of a lot better, so that when you add the layer mask, check that out. Everything looks great. Everything is super accurate without you having to waste all that time. So now, I would like you to use those free image resources that I posted to find a good sky to plug in to the background. And I know in most operating systems, you can just click and drag your file, or you can go to File, Place Embedded, just like in Illustrator, to place your photo. I'm just going to click and drag. And just make sure that you have the sky below the rocks. Whoops. And from here, you can use the selection tool, the move tool actually, to move it around to figure out a great place for you to place it. I'm not too fond of those birds. How about there? That looks good. So at this point, you can use adjustment layers to really try to blend in the rocks with the sky. Right now, it looks a little Photoshoppy. So what I can do, just because I know what to do, because I'm a pro at this, I'm going to make a new adjustment layer, for example. And remember in that previous video I showed, this adjustment layer will affect everything below it, which I don't want it to do. I just want it to affect the layer directly below it, the rocks. So I'm just going to hold Alt, hover between these two layers, just like in the last video I posted, and click. And from there, I can play around with these settings to see what I can do to make it look more natural, just by sliding it over to like magenta. Maybe I want the Highlights, I can try editing those a bit, just to make it look like it belongs. And your mileage is definitely going to vary depending on what image you chose as your sky, which is part of the process of learning Photoshop. Learning how to attack these problems using what you know about the program. So experiment. I listed some adjustment layers that I think will help you most. And you can tell right now, this looks a lot better, a lot more natural, a lot more like it's part of the composition and not too Photoshoppy. So thank you very much, and we'll be moving on to the next two images in the next pages.